Welcome to Take Off Your Shoes. My name is Reverend Marie Duquette. I'm an ordained minister in the Lutheran tradition, and I believe that where my story, your story, and God's story meet, there is holy ground. The Holy Gospel according to Luke, the 17th chapter. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When Jesus saw them, he said to them, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well." This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, good Lord. Many think today's gospel is about saying thank you, and maybe it is. But it's also a story that shows us what thankfulness looks like when you're expecting rejection, when you expect to be the one whose disease will not be cured because you don't have insurance or you will not be given access to the great physician. It's the kind of gratefulness that wells up from the deepest caverns of your soul. It's the kind that takes nothing for granted. The kind of gratefulness that finds relief when someone takes your hand and says to those who would leave you out, "No, he, she, they are with me. They're my siblings." The thankfulness that the Samaritan, that is the foreigner, shows is the kind that notices how rare and gorgeous grace is when it finds you at the edges of society in places where you are hiding. And that grace says to you, "Come on out. Yes, you. You! This is your home." A colleague of mine, Debbie Thomas, tells a story that begins this way. "One day when I was 4 years old and bored, I went snooping in my father's study. In the bottom drawer of a filing cabinet, I found a manila folder with 4 navy blue booklets wrapped in tissue paper. One of them, I discovered to my delight when I unwrapped it, had a baby picture of me inside, along with several pleasingly blank pages needing art. Grabbing a pencil, I climbed into my dad's desk chair and began to draw. I don't know how many pages I defaced before my father walked into the study and caught me. 'What are you doing?' he cried, snatching the booklet out of my hands and flipping through its now grubby pages. Only after he took the pencil and set to work erasing my drawings with tremendous care did I realize he wasn't angry. He was frightened. 'What are those?' I asked, stunned that I had unnerved my father. 'Our passports,' he said, scattering eraser shavings all over the place. He sighed and kept erasing. 'These books are what prove we belong here. Without them,' he didn't finish the sentence, 'never play with such things again.' Immigrants live with the question of whether or not they belong here in their very bones. No matter that today they are our doctors, lawyers, musicians, artists, professors, judges, lunchroom workers, clergy, nurses, long-term care workers in skilled facilities who take care of your auntie. Today, as brown-skinned children are being kidnapped by ICE, pulled from cars, waited for outside elementary schools, ripped from the arms of their parents, we are asked to wrestle with the question, what does the gospel have to say about belonging? Where should the children of God find their identities, their homes, their spiritual families? Right now, in the United States, people are carrying with them their U.S. passport, birth certificate, along with their usual identification. I am one of them. Immigrants are carrying their consular report of birth abroad, certificate of citizenship, certificate of naturalization, that is, if they are brave enough to leave their houses at all. Unless you think this is only happening to illegals or criminals, understand these are some of the people who have been taken in the last couple of months alone. Dr. Ian Roberts, superintendent of schools in Des Moines, Iowa. The government admits he has been here for decades, working and paying taxes. Because of his position, he's already been vetted, which means he cleared his background checks, state vetting, I-9 work verification. He was arrested right after he refused certain demands about access to student records, records that could be used to arrest those students for no other sin than having the wrong color skin or the wrong name. In Chicago last night, a man hid a terrified 7-year-old girl under his bed after she ran crying to his door. ICE was raiding the houses in her neighborhood. When it was all over, residents found maps and door stickers showing who lived where. This is not the first time in history when homes were marked because the people inside were thought of as unclean foreigners. There have been 9 lynchings of young black people in this country in the last 18 months. Many of them about to graduate from college. Trey Reed was one of them. He was found the morning after he defended 4 young children from harassment. His death was ruled a suicide, as were all the other lynchings since 2024. The hard truth is that we are living in a time where anyone is able to be stopped, arrested, taken, imprisoned, or deported, whether or not they have passports, papers, or anything that shows they belong here. John Steinbeck, my personal favorite classic author. John Steinbeck once did something few writers would ever dare. He hid in a migrant camp under a fake name just to see if America treated him like one of its own. It didn't. It was 1936, the heart of the Great Depression. Steinbeck kept hearing stories of families from Oklahoma and Texas, farmers who had lost everything to dust and drought, flooding into California in broken trucks. They came chasing a dream, but what they found was hunger, hate, and fields owned by men who saw them as less than human. Newspapers called them Okies. Politicians called them a problem. Steinbeck couldn't just write about it from a distance. He said, if you want to understand a man's pain, you have to walk with him in the mud. So he borrowed an old car, put on torn clothes, and vanished into the San Joaquin Valley. For weeks, he lived among the migrant workers, sleeping under the stars, eating scraps, and sharing stories by dying campfires. He watched mothers try to hush their crying babies with songs instead of food. He saw children digging through trash for rotten fruit. You have no idea how terrifying hunger sounds when it cries, he wrote later. It changes the shape of a man's face. Every night after the others slept, Steinbeck sat by a lantern and scribbled pieces of dialogue, sketches of faces, small moments of grace in a world built on suffering. out of his notes came the book, The Grapes of Wrath. When it was published in 1939, it shook America to its core. Growers burned the book in public. Politicians called him a liar. Churches banned it from their shelves. But the people who had lived those lives, the ones with blistered hands and dust in their lungs, they wept. He told the truth. One farmer said, "At last, someone saw us." The FBI opened a file on Steinbeck, calling his work dangerous and un-American. He received death threats. Armed men from the Associated Farmers of California watched his home day and night. A friend once asked if he was scared. Steinbeck just smiled and said, "No. I'm ashamed it took me this long to pay attention." He won the Pulitzer, then the Nobel Prize, but he never forgot the camps. "I am not a writer of escape," he said. "I am a writer of the people who cannot escape." Monday is Indigenous Peoples Day, also known as Columbus Day. We are moving to call it Indigenous Peoples Day to give tribute to the ones whose very lives were taken so that others could call this place home. It's about their dignity. Saturday, there will be protests nationwide because of the harassment, terror, and violence being enacted by anyone deemed an enemy of those in power. When you see or hear of these protests, or perhaps when you participate in one, bear in mind that the reason for these protests is the exact reason that Jesus would heal 10 people, including a foreigner, a Samaritan. It is for the exact same reasons that Jesus went to the people on the fringes of society. Those others were all happy to kick to the curb, look past, and allow to go hungry. When you hear of illegals in this country, bear in mind that Jesus was a refugee. And the only thing Jesus ever did with borders was cross them.